Hey, thanks for joining me back here at Laser Engraving 911. So on this episode, we're going to get into engraving some anodized aluminum with the fiber laser. I'm going to show you how I kind of line things up on the fiber laser. We're going to talk about Ezcad a little bit and just get into the general principles of using the fiber laser. So if that sounds like something you want to get into, then buckle up, get your pen and paper out, and let's do this on Laser Engraving 911. Before we get into using the fiber laser, I just want to go over a few basic things. Three of the most important things that are required when using a fiber laser are a pair of rated safety glasses that you need to get that are specific to this wavelength of light. And I will list a link in the description below of where I get my safety glasses from. An exhaust system. I have mine turned off right now because we're not using the laser, but I have an inline fan and hooked up to this, and I got this from Woodcraft, this little flat that lays my exhaust flat, and I can kind of bring it in close to the work or push it away if I need the whole bed area. And then the third thing is you need to have some way to focus your beam. So some lasers come with the red dot pointers, like I don't know if you can see those right there. I don't like using those. I find them kind of unreliable. What I did was figure out my focal point, and I made myself my own focal stick. And so you have to have your focal stick to be able to focus to the work that we're going to be working on. All right, so those are the three main things that you've got to have if you have a fiber laser. Your exhaust, eye protection, and your focal stick are a way to focus from the lens to your work on the working table. So I think we're ready to get started engraving some of this stuff now, but before we do, I want to give a special shout out to Freq over at Chewbarka.com. They kind of reached out to me, and it's funny that they reached out to me because I've actually been using them for years. Chebarka.com is one of the best places to buy anodized aluminum blanks. Everything's made right here in the United States, and the quality of their blanks and their anodized stuff is really top notch. If you're interested in pick up some of these products after you watch me engrave some of this stuff, make sure you check the link in the description below this video. I've listed a special coupon and a little bit of a deal for y'all to check out. So make sure you check out Chewbarka.com. And once again, thanks guys for sending this out to help me make this video on laser engraving anodized aluminum. All right, folks, we're gonna go ahead and just put a logo on this with the fiber laser. So when we're using the fiber laser, first thing I do is get in focus. I have my focal stick that I made here, and this is specific to my fiber laser. Every different fiber laser, the focal length is different, so you'll have to figure out what your focal length is for your particular fiber laser wherever you get that. And there's some great videos on how to do that and find your focal length on YouTube, and I'll link some of those below as well. What I'm going to do is use my focal stick to, let's say my laser head was way up here. I want to be right to the focus, right to where my stick touches the surface of the object that I'm going to be engraving on. And that is it right there. And now I'm in focus. So the next thing I'm going to do is measure my object. So I've got my caliper out, and we're going to be working in inches because that's what I like to work in. I'm going to measure the height here, it's 2 inches, and the width, 3.875 inches. I'm going to come over here to Ezcad, and I'm going to draw myself that shape. So here we are. I'm going to change it right here, 3.875 by 2 inches. And I'm going to hit Shift C to center that, and then I'm going to use my red laser finder to see where that's landing on the thing. And you can see right here is my general shape. And so I'm just going to use my eyeballs to line up the object here. This is just a demonstration. Line that up, not using any pins or anything. You can see that's lined up. And then over here in Ezcad, I'm going to import a graphic from, let's see, what logo should I bring in? Oh, how about my own logo? So Ezcad's pretty cool. This is not a tutorial on how to use Ezcad. There's plenty of those out there. Check out Laser Everything YouTube channel. He does a deep dive on Ezcad, and you could definitely, he's already got this all covered. I'm just showing you what I'm doing here in Ezcad so you can see how my workflow is. So I've brought in my vector here. These are all vectors, and I can grab the corner here to shrink it down. And what I can do, just to make sure that we're centered here, is I can click my graphic, click the box that I made, modify, align, center. And now that is in the center, and I'll take away the border just for a second, just so you can see where my graphic is there, and you can see that it's projecting the actual shape of my graphic. Some people like to just project an outline of exactly where your graphic's going to be. I like using the project mark targeting feature. It just helps me visualize everything better, even though it's kind of going over and over it. This is the way I started, and this is the way I like working. You can change this feature inside Ezcad to just do a box, a targeting box or a frame box in the area that you're going to do. So let's go ahead and fill this, because if I were to just engrave this right now, it would just engrave the outline, and we want it to actually fill in the outline. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the hatch, and what I like to use, and keep in mind I'm in inches on this machine, inches per second, I like to use 2 hatches, one at a 45 and the second hatch at a -45, and my line spacing is 0.001. So I'm going to go ahead and hatch that. Those are really tight hatches. It's just the way I like to work. And so we can zoom in, and what I mean by hatch is it's created 2 sets of very fine lines. See how we're zooming in there? And one of them is going to go this way at 45 once, and then it's going to come back again on another pass and do it the other way. So just want to kind of briefly go over that. And then the last thing I want to do is I'm going to come over here to my settings and uncheck default settings, go to my parameter library, and pick anodized aluminum, because that's a setting I've already dialed in for this machine that I like. And if you want to know, it's right here. It's 40 speed, 80% power, 25% frequency, and this is a 50-watt fiber laser. And without further ado, I'm going to turn on my exhaust fan, put my goggles on. It's going to get loud, and I apologize for that, but exhausting is part of what you got to do, even on a fiber laser. So let's bring this exhaust a little closer, about right there. And I might lower the volume at this point just while it's laser engraving, but here we go. I'm just going to hit the mark button. There's that first 45 angle. I guess I could turn the overhead light on now. I only had it turned off so you could see the red laser. Maybe that'll help you see what's going on a little bit better. And there we go. So let's go ahead and turn off the fan. And we'll take a look at that. And you can see that mark is super clean, minus the aluminum dust that's left over, because remember, this is a fiber laser. It's actually ablating the material. So we can just wipe that aluminum dust off. But that is how quick we can put that mark on there. It's nice and centered because we drew our little trace box around it. And that is the first mark that we're going to just show you. That's like my general anodized aluminum setting that I use, and there's actually a little bit of depth to it. I know you can't see that right now, but we'll check that out later and take a closer look at this mark. So let's go ahead and do another one. This time I'm not going to use the box to line things up. I'm just going to use the targeting laser. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually shrink this down a little bit. And whenever you shrink a graphic that's hatched in Ezcad, you want to go ahead and hit apply, because when you shrink stuff without applying, it changes the hatch pattern. So you always want to shrink it down and hit apply. I'm going to use my red targeting laser again. And remember, that is where it's going to land. So all I need to do is kind of move my piece over right here, target a new area. And then what I'm going to do on this one is I'm going to do the same setting, but afterwards I'm going to do another pass at a different frequency, a different speed, and a different power to whiten up the engraving even whiter. Got to turn on my exhaust fan there. Getting too excited. There we go. Alright, so we're still getting that kind of standard gray mark. So what I'm going to do to lighten that up is I have a setting over here in my parameters library called Steel White Finish. And that's going to run at 30 speed, only 45% power, and a frequency of 55. And that actually changes how the laser reacts with the anodized aluminum, and it's actually kind of a cleaning pass to help brighten it up. So let's go ahead and run that. You can see how that is whitening up that engraving dramatically. And that's usually what the customer wants. They want a bright white engraving. But sometimes they want kind of a grayer mark, and you can even go darker gray than this. We'll show you that next. All right, so there's that mark. Let's go ahead and take a look at that now. Turn the fan off so you can hear me. Alright, so here's that mark. I'll just wipe that aluminum dust away. Now you can see the difference in contrast there. And that was just from doing a cleaning pass. So there's two different marks right away that we can get with the fiber laser. Let's go for a dark gray mark on this next one. Okay. Once again, I'm just going to use my red laser pointer to kind of target where I want this to land. And I'm kind of running out of space on this card yet, but I want to keep them side by side. Might have to shrink it down. Maybe we have any space here. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Nope. Alright. So we'll just shrink it down a little bit, no problem. Just a scotch. Hit apply because we shrunk it. Alright, so we'll do this new mark right underneath here. And for this one, I'm going to actually go into my settings. I'm going to find this setting that I have called Aluminum Safe Gray. And what I mean by that is I can create a darker gray mark, but not warp and put so much heat into the aluminum that it warps the card, because you can do that if you're throwing too much power at some of these metals. You can start to warp these thin cards. But I like this aluminum safe dark pattern. Aluminum safe dark setting that I have, and we'll go ahead and run that, and then we'll see 3 different tones that you can get now with the fiber laser. Do a little target check. Yep, we're still on the luggage tag. Let's run it. You can see how much slower the laser is running now. It's hanging out much longer in each area, creating a dark gray mark on anodized aluminum. See more sparks flying off because the setting on this is 15 speed, 100% power, 50 watts at 25 frequency. Just blasting it. All right, turn the fan off. Let's take a look at that. A little wipe off there. So now we have the standard kind of anodized aluminum mark. We've got a really white, bright mark, and then we've got a darker gray mark there. Now you got to watch out with running the laser too slow on fiber lasers. If you run it too slow, you'll just blow out all the little detail and stuff. You want to do a lot of playing around with your anodized aluminum settings once you get your fiber laser, and there's quite a bit of time spent, I think, with every experienced fiber laser owner working on dialing in their settings for every material. And that's really not what this video is about. It's just showing you proof of concept of kind of how fast things can be engraved on there and the different types of marks that you can get on anodized aluminum. So let's grab another piece of aluminum and do something else cool. All right, so for our next one, we're going to go ahead and take another awesome item from Chebarka.com, which are their data plates, which I have definitely sold quite a few of these. I've sold some to the fire department, I've sold some to contractors, and sometimes they just need a metal data plate, and these are easily done with a fiber laser. So before we actually go do this, I want to jump over and show you something really quick about logos and working with anodized aluminum on Adobe Illustrator. So let's go ahead and jump over there, and then we'll come back over here and we'll engrave this data plate. Okay, so let's do a quick lesson in Adobe Illustrator on how to change a graphic from a positive to a negative for engraving on anodized aluminum. If you were to try to engrave this graphic right here, this vector, on top of this red anodized aluminum business card, this is how it would look. So let's change the color to white. And that is basically a negative image because anodized aluminum engraves white. And we don't want that. That's a negative of how the graphic was supposed to look. We want it to look positive. So to do that, because this is a vector, we're going to have to convert it to a negative. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to make a couple copies of this. So just so I have the original over here. I always like to make multiple copies of my graphics when I'm working on them, just in case I goof up. So I'm just going to hold down the Alt key and drag a copy here. I'm going to go over to the Pathfinder tools. If you don't have this open, you can go to Windows and open up the Pathfinder window over here. And I'm going to click Merge. Oh, sorry, I have to select that. I'm going to go ahead and click Merge and Unite. And I just basically filled in this whole thing in black. But we're not done yet. We're going to actually go to Path, Offset Path, and we're going to offset the path of this new shape that we created by 0.1 inches. And we're going to select Joins Round. That means we want it round and smooth around the outside. And click OK. And now we have two shapes. You see we have our original shape and we have this new shape that's like an enlarged all around on all sides evenly of our shape. So we don't need this other shape anymore. We're going to go ahead and take one of our copies of our Ghostbuster and we're going to turn that white, and we're going to arrange it to the front because we want it to float over this here. So to center them up perfectly, we're going to select this one and our new shape. We're going to use the alignment tools up here, and we're going to do a vertical alignment and a horizontal alignment. Just like that. And this will be easier to see if I bring it up here on the gray background. Now we're getting there, but we haven't quite created our negative image yet. So now that we have the white overlaid over the black shape, we're going to go back to the Pathfinder tools and we're going to click, make sure everything's selected, and we're going to click the trim button. And what that did was it took all the white and it punched out all the black in the background. And to show you that, we're going to ungroup this whole cluster of different vector images here, and we're just going to select the white. And to do that, you're going to click on any white area, select same fill color, and then delete everything. And you see what we have now is a negative version of the original graphic. So we're going to highlight that. We're going to hit the merge button, excuse me, and now we have a merged vector that is ready to go into our laser engraving program that's going to engrave properly, because all the black areas are the parts that will be engraved, and they will engrave white because we're working on anodized aluminum. And to show you that, I've got a little pretend business card down here. So we'll go ahead and zoom out a little bit, and we'll take our graphic here, and we'll fill that with white. Oh, excuse me, I forgot one step here. So after you hit the merge button, you want to come up to Object, Path, Clean Up Path. And now we can go ahead and fill that with white, like that. And then remember, here's our original image here. Can you see the difference? So when we engrave our new image, which is a negative, it's going to look like that on the business card. If we were to engrave our original image on the anodized aluminum business card, let's change that to white, it's going to look like that. So let's zoom in and see what we did there. So it's really important that when you're engraving on anodized aluminum that you understand how to invert an image so it engraves and looks properly on anodized aluminum, especially if you're engraving on anodized aluminum that has a dark colored background, so black, blue, red. Now if you're doing clear anodized, just a metallic anodized, and you want to get a gray mark, you could still get away with that. But for most anodized aluminums, you're going to want to make sure that your graphic is prepared this way, knowing that anodized aluminum engraves white. All right, so we're back over here after talking about the difference between positive and negative logos and how you can turn a positive logo in Adobe Illustrator into a negative one for engraving on, say, anodized aluminum or something dark that you know is going to engrave light, which a lot of things do. So now that we've taken care of that, let's go ahead and take our data plate and see what we can, if we can make a cool data plate. So once again, over in Ezcad, I've got a trace of the data plate, so we'll get our red light going. Once again, you know, a lot of fiber lasers come with pin tables like this, and of course, if you've got a bunch of these to do, there is nothing wrong with setting up your pins, right? If you've got a bunch of these and you just want to do a quick jig, so you can just slap that in there every time, or if you can even fit 2 of these in your working space at a time, you know, obviously that's how you'd want to do production. I'm just choosing not to use my pins right now. I'm just kind of freehand it because this is just kind of a cool little tutorial video on how I engrave anodized aluminum. But for this one, we just want to kind of get going. You know, jigs are definitely helpful when you're engraving on a fiber laser, and I'm just doing a free lineup here for demonstration purposes. So we've got our data plate in there, and once again I have the overhead light turned off so you can see the red laser pointer. And then over here in Ezcad, we're going to bring in our graphic, which I've already imported, and I'm just going to paste it in place. And you can see it's actually using our cool new Ghostbusters logo that we just worked on over in Adobe Illustrator. And I thought it would be cool to make a data plate that, you know, the Ghostbusters might need inside their facility, you know, for one of their containment units. So I'm going to take my graphic, which is a vector. I'm going to take my outline, go to Modify, Align, Center, to snap it to the middle of, and we already know that my plate's lined up. And one important thing to remember is the outline that you're using to place your object in there, you always want to make sure you get rid of that before you actually engrave your graphic, because fiber laser, unless you tell it to, will engrave everything that's on your screen. That means it's going to engrave everything right here, unless before you hit the mark or engrave button, you delete that. So we're going to go ahead and hatch this whole graphic with my opposing 45s. And you can see it's always good to zoom in and make sure that everything hatched correctly and you made your graphics right. And I know that Ghostbuster looks a little funny, but if you look up close, you'll see it's very accurate, and it's always a good idea to zoom in. For this one, we're just going to use a different anodized aluminum setting, which is a much faster setting, which is just going to create a a fast white mark. Rather than a deep engraving, we're just going to create a fast white mark. So the speed is 250, power is 80, frequency is 25. I'm going to light it up really quick with the red just to make sure everything's in frame. You can see that there. And then once I verified that, I'm going to go ahead and make sure my fan's on. I'm going to turn on the overhead light for you so you can see what's going on. And let's go ahead and run this Ghostbuster data plate and see how it turns out. And there we are. That job took 1 minute and 45 seconds. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Everything's nice and registered. You can see that our logo came out looking properly. I think that's a fine data plate, suitable for any ghost busting facility. All right, so now I think at this point of the video, I'm just going to do some time lapse and engrave some other things from Chebarka.com and just show you really quick how I would line those up. All right, well that about wraps it up for this episode on Laser Engraving 911, engraving anodized aluminum with a fiber laser. If you got some value out of that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and hit the notification bell so you can get notified next time I upload some more content like this. Also, I want to give a shout out to all my subscribers. Thank you so much for all your comments, your questions. It really helps grow this channel, and I couldn't do it without you. Check out that link in the description below for Chewbarka.com. I've listed a special deal down there. Click on that and you will be stoked when you head on over there to try some of their amazing anodized aluminum products. And if you like this video and you want to get some more, make sure you check out this other video by me right here. So until next time, I'll see you on Laser Engraving 911.